So let's just jump right in. Have you ever stopped to think about how the simple act of measuring something can completely change everything? We're going to explore how shifting from rewarding just activity to rewarding actual impact can literally make or break a company. And it all starts with a story a company tells itself.
This quote, man, it just nails it, doesn't it? The metrics a company decides to track, they're not just numbers on some spreadsheet. They are the actual plot points of that company's story. They show you what's really valued, and in the end, that story determines who they become.
So, how does a good story go bad? Well, it often starts with something called the measurement trap. See, we fall for these things called false proxies. These are metrics that are super easy to track, but they don't actually represent what truly matters. They trick us into thinking we're winning, when in reality, we could be heading for disaster.
And there is no better, more classic example of this than the tale of two car companies, General Motors and Toyota. Back in the 1980s, they were in this epic battle. But it wasn't just about making cars. It was a battle of measurement philosophy.
I mean, just look at this. It's night and day. GM was obsessed, and I mean obsessed, with one thing: speed. Their North Star was cars per hour. The faster that line moved, the better they thought they were doing. Toyota? They were looking at something completely different: defects per car. Their goal wasn't speed, it was perfection. They would literally stop the entire production line for a single loose bolt.
So what happened? Well, GM got exactly what it measured. They hit record production speeds, for sure, but the cost was catastrophic. They also hit a record number of recalls, faced unbelievable warranty repair costs, and, well, it all put them on a path straight to bankruptcy. They were winning the battle for speed, but completely losing the war for customers.
And Toyota? That so-called slow approach that GM executives were probably laughing at? Yeah, that slow and steady focus on quality turned them into the world's most profitable automaker. It just goes to show, measuring the right thing is way more important than measuring the easy thing.
But what happens when metrics aren't just misleading? What if they actually push people to do destructive things? This is where good intentions can go horribly wrong and create a culture where taking shortcuts is the only way to survive. Let's talk about Wells Fargo. Back in the day, they had this really simple, really catchy goal for all their employees. It was a little slogan designed to drive growth and make customers happy. It was all about this number, 8. The company's slogan was, 8 is great. The goal was for every single customer to have 8 different products with the bank. On the surface, it sounds simple, right? Maybe even smart. But in reality, it was an absolute nightmare. You see, 8 is great was basically an impossible target, and the leadership culture was relentless. So you had thousands of employees facing this brutal choice: either fail to meet your quota and get fired, or find another way to hit that number. And that other way resulted in this: 3.5 million fake accounts. Employees were creating them just to keep their jobs. That metric wasn't measuring customer loyalty, it was measuring pure desperation. And it created one of the biggest banking scandals ever, costing billions and destroying public trust.
Okay, so this gets us to the most important question of all. If measuring activity, like cars per hour or products per customer, is a total trap, then what are you supposed to do? How do you actually measure and reward what really matters? How do you reward real impact?
Well, this brings us to the solution. It's a philosophy you could call the impact revolution, and it's all about completely changing how we define success at work. A fantastic case study for this is the tech company Buffer. They had this huge realization that the traditional metrics, hours logged, how many meetings you attend, had almost zero connection to who was actually making the biggest contributions. So they just decided to stop rewarding presence and start rewarding contribution. So how'd they do it? They created something called Impact Awards, and they based them on these 4 things. Now notice, none of these are about activity. They're all about outcomes. Are customers happier? Is the product actually better? Is the team stronger? Is the business moving forward? These are the questions that get to what really matters. And the result? Well, the proof is in the pudding. A 40% increase in their employee engagement scores. And why? It's pretty simple, actually. People felt valued for what they actually did, for the difference they made, not just for showing up. And look, this idea isn't just a one-off thing at Buffer. It's part of a much bigger movement towards creating what some people call a results-only environment.
And some companies are taking it even further.
Take a company like GitLab. They've gone all in. They have completely gotten rid of all traditional forms of activity tracking. They seriously don't care when you work, where you work, or how many hours you put in. They only care about the results you produce. Period.
And their core metrics look really similar to Buffer's, don't they? It's all about the same theme. Did you solve a real problem for a customer? Did you ship a feature that people actually use and love? Did you make it easier for your teammates to do great work? That is the essence of measuring impact.
And this brings us right back to that powerful lesson from the auto industry. This quote just sums up the whole danger perfectly. General Motors got exactly what they measured. They got speed, and in the process, they lost everything else that actually mattered.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. And it applies to everything, your company, your team, even your own personal goals. Take a really hard look at what you're measuring. What story is it telling? Is it a story about just being busy, or is it a story about creating genuine, lasting impact? Because that story, at the end of the day, is going to determine exactly where you end up.